Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we take a look at every single episode of the 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. I'm Jeff.
I'm Aurora.
I'm Dirk, but like the younger one.
And this week, yeah, there's some episode that we're talking about, but fuck that. More importantly, on our what would have been our 80th episode if we hadn't had technical failures last week, on the Friday after we recorded, it was announced that our Lord and Savior, the based king, Russell T Davies, is returning as showrunner for Doctor Who in 2023 and beyond. And I just want to say, everyone, you're welcome.
We did it. We personally did it.
The BBC personally listens to our podcast with like low double-digit listeners.
We have that many? I'm genuinely shocked. I thought
Honestly,
it was like 4 or 5.
You're welcome, America, and Turf Island, and wherever the fuck else you listen from. We love you, each and every one. No parasocial.
Yeah. We did this.
And now into something completely different.
So yeah, I'm very excited for the return of RTD. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to put the show back on track. I think it's going to be very much RTD, but not necessarily retreading the same old ground. I'm excited for it to be based as fuck, and I hope the Doctor this time around is queer as fuck. That would be really neat.
Honestly, I think it would, like, this is not going to happen, but can we just imagine, just take a moment and really think about if RTD made the Doctor trans?
Yeah, I mean,
like,
I
as in
think,
cast a trans actor as the Doctor.
Yeah, definitely. I think what friend of the show Emma was saying is much more likely, which would be a companion, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the man put on a same-sex kiss in 2005. Who the hell knows what the Mad Lad will do now?
Wasn't that only like 1 year after Section 23 was repealed? When the fuck? That was like not that long after.
I don't know. No idea. Anyways. So yeah, you're welcome, everyone. I am looking very forward to the
Section
second
28.
yeah. The
2000,
second.
okay.
Okay.
Oh,
5
no,
years.
2003. Okay, so yeah, it was like
2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Anyways, so yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very much looking forward to the second Russell T Davies era, or as I'm going to be calling it from now on, to Russell to Davies.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yes.
The second great and bountiful Russell T Davies era.
Yes. So yeah, and with that, I guess we have an episode to talk about, which would be series 7. Well, technically it doesn't, it's in series 7, but it is the 2012 Christmas special, The Snowmen. This is the first episode to officially introduce Jenna Louise Coleman as Clara Oswald. And yeah, it's a step up from where we were. I'm not gonna lie, there's some stuff that I don't think lands quite right for me in this, but on the whole, in terms of like an episode that's not like The Girl Who Waited or Doctor's Wife, like from an actual Moffat penned episode, this is a notable step up from where we were in the last season and a half.
Second best Moffat Christmas special for sure. I know that's a very low bar, considering we've only had 3 so far, but still.
Yeah. So yeah, this episode features Richard E. Grant as Dr. Simeon, who will later become classic Who villain, the Great Intelligence. And our bonus episode last week was covering Scream of the Shalka, which was a webcast that featured Richard E. Grant as a Ninth Doctor that was eventually deemed non-canonical. And here he's just kind of a sneering evil villain man. He's quite good at it, but he is a sneering evil villain man.
Yeah, it's quite one note. Like, he does it well, but not a lot of substance to him. Sci-fi franchises, stop misusing Richard E. Grant, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely think he was the weak point of the episode. I think literally everything else besides him, though, was, like, pretty good.
Yeah. I also think, like, okay, they really just kind of waste fucking Ian McKellen in this episode.
Ian McKellen is in this episode?
Yeah, he's the voice of the Snow.
Oh. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll be honest, I did not know it was Ian McKellen until today. But it's really obvious when you point it out. I was just like, oh yeah, that's Magneto. And Gandalf and every other... He's a theater actor too.
Man, what a waste. Like, you get fucking Ian McKellen and that's what you use him on? Man.
You make him an evil snow globe.
Yeah, who essentially, like, transmits their body to, or consciousness to Richard E. Grant. It sucks, man.
To be fair, wouldn't this be around the time when the Hobbit movies were being filmed?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all they could get him in for. Either way, it's nice. It's nice to hear his voice. He has a very intimidating,
yes,
recognizable voice. Just not to me, apparently.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we start out with, I'm not gonna lie, the Snowmen itself kind of it doesn't do anything for me. It's like it's not really anything special. It's just, ooh, what if snowmen had like spooky eyes and teeth?
They're serviceable.
Yeah. Like, I guess in a lot of respects, like, this episode isn't about the monster plot necessarily, but also it takes up a notable amount of the episode for something that doesn't really matter and feels a little half-baked.
Yeah. There were a lot of elements that I'm sure we'll touch on that, like, felt kind of evocative of, like, RTD era Christmas specials. In, like, sort of the type of jokes and type of humor and pacing they had, the camp, what they did with the monsters of just like, oh, it's Christmas themed, but spoopy now.
Yeah.
So I kind of took it as just like, okay, you know, it's part of the pastiche, it's part of the tradition, like, let's get to the meat of it though, you know?
Yeah. Also, fucking like, Clara dies like surprisingly early. Like, she dies at like the 30-minute mark, which is surprising because I thought it was like right near the end, and no, it's, well, okay, to be fair, never mind actually. No, she doesn't die at the 30-minute mark, but she suffers the fatal wound at the 30-minute mark.
I mean, she does die,
like,
they just bring her back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's effectively taken out of the action of the plot at the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will say is that I think Clara and the Doctor's chemistry is really obvious right off the bat in this episode. Like, I think they just work really well together here. And, like,
Mm-hmm.
I know that Clara and 11 is not, like, the best, most fleshed out dynamic. It's not as good as Clara and 12, but I think
I think go ahead, sorry.
like, you can see a lot of, like, potential for what their dynamic could be here, and I think they work really well in this episode.
I think Clara and 11 work better at the beginning of this chunk of series 7 than they do near the end.
Yeah,
Because
that's
near
what
the
the
end,
impression I got.
near the end is when you get the fucking like mystery line in Journey in the Center of the TARDIS. That's just fucking god awful.
Yeah, that's what this episode's so weird because as Dirk was saying, the chemistry is really good. They bounce off of each other. Their dialogue is snappy. It's clever, but at the same time, it's just when we meet her again, I find myself wishing we could have had this Clara be the companion, and that's not even touching the problem I think we all have with all modern Who companions coming from modern day. Like that's without even touching that. So it was a bit frustrating to like fall in love with this dynamic, but know that like, okay, there's kind of going to be a reset button, and it's going to be kind of the same, but it's not going to be as good, in my opinion, and in our opinion again. So it's good in the episode though.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's also weird how like nonchalant like Clara's meeting with the Doctor is. Like, I think part of that was just like the way like it's so odd that it's just so nonchalant. And I guess technically this isn't like the proper introduction, because the proper introduction would be next week. But for ostensibly the first introduction, it's surprisingly nonchalant, where he's just walking by and she talks to him. And I guess it makes sense with where they go in Name of the Doctor at the end of the season of like why she ran into him, but
I like the idea that he can have such an impression on someone like Clara that like just for that amount of time you like there's a connection. I like that idea, but yeah, I forgot that's how they met. I was just like, holy shit, that's him. Hello.
Yeah.
I really like the angle of the Doctor being like literally above it all in this episode. I think like as badly as the Amy and Rory arc is fumbled, I think this is a logical place to leave to pick up after it. Just the Doctor has been basically on hiatus for an unknown amount of time. Is kind of implied to be a pretty long amount of time. And he's literally just above it all. He's just been hanging out being depressed.
Yeah, I think I definitely think like, okay, I know that it's only like a 60-minute episode, but I kind of wish that they went a little bit longer with it.
Absolutely.
Like, it feels like it's a thing in the toy box that they throw out too early.
Yeah, it's also my favorite 11 moments are before he starts helping again, because aside from the scene where he's getting excited showing Clara the TARDIS, it's like the Flanderization is almost back in full force, and it's even more jarring because we just got some good 11 characterization. So when he marches in and he does the kind of very stupid Sherlock bit, you could argue that's a 2 moment of pretending to be stupid, but that didn't work for me.
No, that part was fucking silly.
And like, I'm just her gentleman friend and we're kissing. Again, might just be the Christmas pastiche silliness of it all that's not helping, but
No,
was just
that's a
jarring...
Moffat thing. Because,
Yeah,
like, Silly Christmas Pastiche was shit like Runaway Bride or, like, Voyage of the Damned. And while there was some making out in that, like, it wasn't as cringe as this.
Yeah.
No,
so
I
just...
don't have an RTD bias. What are you talking about? I absolutely do not have
Honestly,
any bias.
I'm gonna go ahead and reveal our Moffat bias and say that I like that line and I liked a lot of the silliness in this episode.
I think it's okay in a vacuum. It's jarring when it's just like, here's brooding, serious, like sort of broken 11.
Yeah.
And now he's making kissing jokes, and then later actually making out with Clara. It's just a little too quick for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah,
I buy it. She's his rebound girl. I get it.
At least you didn't
Man.
meet this one when you were 12. Oh wait, he will.
Oops. At least not to start.
Yeah.
That's not as bad. So yeah, we also return to the Paternoster gang. Strax is pretty good in this. Like, it is something that I have maintained a begrudging amount of, yeah, fine, this is still pretty funny. I may be a cynical, fucking bitchy, moody adult, but I cannot lie. Strax is still really funny.
Is this our first introduction to Jenny?
No, she was in Good Man Goes to War. She's barely there because that episode is a fucking mess that's juggling way too many things, but she's in it.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking, like, was she in A Good Man Goes to... That episode is a fever dream.
Yeah.
Also, is this the first time we hear Clara's theme? I don't remember if we hear it at all.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It might have sneak debuted in Asylum, I think.
It definitely has more screen presence here. With some like different, I don't know. I appreciate the musical inflections. Even the one time, I think they only use "I Am the Doctor" once, but
yeah.
even there, they use it effectively. So I was just like, okay, well done. You made a well constructed episode.
Also,
Yeah.
Clara's theme is really good. I forgot how good it is. It's a really fun
Yeah.
theme, and I think it really fits her.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but like the extended memory worm bit is good.
Yeah, that was really good. I really just. Is it Strax?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So Strax just like going to get the worm and coming back and being like, "Doctor, where are we?"
Yeah.
I like how there's sort of the implication. It's just like, oh no, he's gonna do a Donna on her, and then it's immediately subverted with comedy. I was just like, that's good.
Yeah. And then, like, I will give Moffat this, even when it eventually gets to the point again at the very bitter end 2 seasons from now, when he does try and pull a Donna, it backfires on him.
Yeah.
That's good. And yeah, because like you can go back to the episode. I am on record of being very not on board with the Donna thing.
Nope.
So yeah. He's living he's got the TARDIS parked on top of a cloud, very sort of Mary Poppins imagery. And we find out that Clara is also like moonlighting as or actually I don't know. I think it was the other way. She was like moonlighting as a barmaid, but like her like full-time job was the governess. The dad hits on her in a way that's like really uncomfortable, actually.
Yeah.
Like I think it's supposed to be played for humor, but it's not really funny.
Yeah, I didn't, well, to me, I didn't find him as threatening or imposing at all. It was just sort of that Victorian, like, I don't want to say effeminate man, 'cause I
Sexual
don't mean that.
repression.
Yeah, I don't mean to say that in a like very deprecative way, but that's the vibe I got. Like I felt no threat of force. He was just sort of impotent in the way that like
Okay,
Victorian
but still,
society
it's
makes
a
men.
little uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was just like like on the level of discomfort, I wasn't just like, oh, he's gonna force himself on her. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, he's a little weird, and she's gonna stare at him, and he's gonna immediately back off.
Yeah.
Like that. I don't know.
Man needs to get horny bonked.
It's a feels weird Pepe champ. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. So yeah, Clara finds out about this governess who had like frozen in like the pond of this family home, I guess. That is supposed to be tied in with Dr. Simeon's plans somehow. Did I miss how that was tied in? I had a lot of stuff going on today. I feel like I may have missed that.
So
Well, like the snow creatures basically were like scanning the body of the governess to use it as like a template for their ice people.
because without her,
Okay.
they just melt in July, but with her, it's ice that remembers how to not melt. It's very moon logic. It's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
It's not
is what I'm
strong.
talking about when I say that the monster plot is kind of like half baked for how much time they spend on it.
There's also like there's a little bit of a contrivance with like or like I do really like the bit with Clara and Madame Vostra, but then the like give me a one-word answer for like why the doctor should help you, and she says pond of all words.
That was
of
fucking
course.
stupid. That was
Yeah.
fucking stupid.
We-
I will say
Okay.
that was like contrived.
We are all allowed a moment we think is fucking stupid. This to me is not one of them. I was just like, okay, that's clearly very manufactured, but it shows how there's a connection between her and him. It shows her cleverness. I know there's no way she would know how significant that word is to him. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
care.
entirely a plot contrivance so Moffat can have a little wank fest about how clever he is.
Okay, but we've talked about how weak the antagonist plot is and the monsters. It's the only true negative I'll give this episode that like really drags down my enjoyment, that the way they get Clara to die in this one is basically like the doctor gets a hold of the idiot ball because he takes her up to the TARDIS. He says the cloud like fucking whatever, it'll block her. And then when the ice governess grabs Clara and is, about to like fall off the edge with her, he's like, oh, I should have known that would never work. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? You just...
Yeah. Like, bitch.
Yeah, so that was a moment of genuinely, like, bad writing, and I don't know, you could have killed her in other ways. It was just, that isn't the part that bothers me. It's just the fact that it's integrated with the monster plot, and he chose that way to do it, it's just like, okay, I'm over it.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, we have that Sherlock Holmes bit.
I like
which
that.
It just had me be like, okay.
No, I really like that. I fucking loved the bit where the doctor walks in and he's just like, you have an apple tree and a wife named this, and he's like, no, I don't. For some reason, it really reminded me of the like the porn parody meme of the like girl in the like lifeguard suit, and she's like,
Oh, the
looks like
the
you need a
fucking
lifeguard.
the
It's
beach.
Like, this
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
best. bathtub.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, like I get why someone wouldn't like it, but we were really into that bit.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we have our little monster like again, like every time the monster plot pops up, I'm just thinking like, okay. Like it's kind of weird because like I think on a whole this episode is all right, but when I actually like stop to examine it, like the interesting bits feel like they're playing second fiddle to the monster plot, which isn't even that impressive, so it feels like it should be the other way around.
Yeah, I think we're going through a pattern with the Moffat Christmas specials, which is that the Christmas Carol one has a strong plot, strong themes, strong characterization, and the Lion Witch, whatever the fuck that one's called, has very weak characters, very weak plot, serviceable themes, and this one has strong characterization and basically nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just especially because like it kind of takes up the entire back half of that episode, where like we have that like the thing in the house, and then they go like up to the TARDIS, and then Clara immediately gets ganked and takes and dies. Then they bring her back for like 15 minutes while they like solve the rest of the plot.
And then she just dies.
And then it's like, especially because like this is supposed to be the Great Intelligence, I think, but like it doesn't really feel like it. I guess, yeah, it's like it's supposed to be that like Simeon began speaking to a snowman that unbeknownst to the boy had been created from an alien snow-like material which generated a low-level telepathic field. What? The fuck are you talking about?
That's some Star Trek moon science nonsense right there.
Yeah, it's like what? It's
especially
like
the part where Simeon gets bitten by the worm and then the intelligence takes over his body and he like pops up in this fucking goofy ass electricity effect and like some snow like ice makeup, and I almost just died laughing at that part.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be
it's just
now
like,
I
okay,
control
man.
the man, and I'm just like this is not no.
Yeah, definitely.
It's weird that the most interesting part of this episode basically takes a back seat and like for the entire third act until it's done and we get the whole like Impossible Girl tease, what will become the Impossible Girl tease, because we haven't named it that yet. And yeah, I'd hate for us to go into another loop of this has potential but you kind of fall short on it. But I have a feeling this is going to be another drinking game of this has great potential and some great moments, but fails to follow fully through on it, which makes me sad.
Like, it's kind of like, honestly, you know what I think a good comparison would be, personally? I think a good comparison would be like the Christmas Invasion, where I think the Christmas Invasion has a pretty solid start to it and some good characterization in that early part, and then the alien plot takes over, and the second half, the second half of the episode feels kind of completely divorced from the first half and is a lot like sloppier and not as interesting. I feel like that's kind of what this episode is.
it's better than that in some ways because I can at least see the logic for why you would write this as a Christmas episode in comparison to some of the like early RTD Christmas fare. But yeah, it very much has that vibe of the good and the bad of the worst of the RTD specials.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So I think that's it from me. Unless like y'all have anything else that you wish to speak of.
Uh, I like the bit at the very beginning where it's gay.
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is
Yeah.
it gay?
I'm assuming Vastra and Jenny.
Oh,
Yeah, where he's like, "Oh, what would the people do if they knew that the Sherlock Holmes was a woman?" And it's so funny because she like takes her thing off so he can see she's an alien, but he goes for woman, and he's like, "Ah, what would they do if they knew that Sherlock Holmes was a woman and had like improper relations with another woman?" And then she was like, "Well, so we're not having improper relations. We're married, unlike you." And it was like, oh,
Oh yeah, and
I
it's
get it. I just didn't register as that the beginning because they're gay throughout, but I feel you.
Yeah. Oh, one thing that I will note that I thought was kind of weird / interesting. There's a dig at the very end of like this Snow meeting Victorian values and this happening, and it's like, are you trying to say something here? Because like I feel like if you are, the Crimson Horror, and even to an extent the Next Doctor, are more interesting variations on this. Also, holy shit, we've gotten like 3 whole Christmas specials set in the Victorian era. How weird.
Yep. Maybe 4 if you count Space Victorian era. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything to say that can't be said in ratings. Oh, the acting is pretty good across the board. Even Richard E. Harris, who's misused, like he's still serviceable. You can still tell he's like he has presence, even though they don't do much with that presence. But the actor for the kid, the younger kid, not the girl who's having the nightmares. He was bad to me. He screamed nearly every line and over enunciated everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was very distracting in an otherwise like pretty well acted episode, and especially weird contrasting with his sister, who was like actually given some decent stuff to work with. So yeah, I don't know. That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess moving on to ratings. Yeah. It's all right. I think it's kind of a thing of like I can enjoy it in the moment, but like I really kind of it goes in one ear and out the other. I just wish it focused more on like the strong first half that I think really gets me invested. Um and then like the second half kind of pisses that away. But it's, it's a B. It's all right. I think it's weird because I don't think it gets as bad as last time got, but also I don't think it hits any of the highs that last week hits either. So it's just kind of more consistently okay instead of unevenly good and bad.
Were you gonna give a score for that one? Or...
I did. I said a B.
Oh, a B? Okay. I'm spacing out. That's okay. Yeah, this was decent. I very much enjoyed it in the moment. I thought the most interesting parts were at the beginning, with 11 sort of exploring a darker side. We haven't really had that since Series 5, It's a shame that kind of goes away for the most part after this, but whatever. Decent aesthetic and atmosphere, decent side characters. I liked all of them, except for, as I said, the younger child of whatever his name is. Decent stuff. Richard E. Grant was definitely better used in the Flash animated special, which I can't believe that's a real sentence I just said. Yeah, also interesting that this is, I think, the only Christmas special that really sets up an arc, a substantive arc for the, like, upcoming half of the series. Yeah. Very, very good to decent most of the time, but ultimately among the mid-tier of Christmas specials and Doctor Who in general, B-.
Yeah, we thought this episode was pretty good. I think you can take issue with, like, the plot not being the greatest, but it really just kind of brushed past us, and we didn't care that much. Like, it didn't really make it unenjoyable for us. We were just mostly focused on the character dynamics and Clara and stuff. And, you know, we were reminded, like, oh yeah, Clara's, like, our favorite companion, and this is, like, why. She's really good, and we like her with the Doctor. And I think this is, like, a solid setup, even though I know it's not going to, like, really pay off until 12. But yeah, I think the flaws of this episode don't really impact us that much. So overall, I would say an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Next week, we will be covering The Bells of St. John, which is technically Clara's real first official episode. Yeah. Until then, you can follow the podcast on Twitter at B2TARDISPod. You can support us on Patreon for a number of benefits, such as early access to episodes, the ability to listen in live to episodes being recorded, and potentially even the ability to guest star upon an episode of your choosing. I'm Jeff. You can follow me on Twitter at WheatleyDL.
I am Aurora. You can follow us at Based Theocrat on Twitter.com.
I'm
And we will see you all next week.